How often have you been told to practice gratitude, be grateful for what you have, look on the bright side, it could be worse, or recognize that other people have it worse than you? Now, these well-meaning comments are meant to help keep things in perspective, and there's nothing inherently wrong with positivity. In fact, it can be a force for good that helps motivate you for the future. But positivity can also become harmful when it's insincere, forceful, or if it delegitimizes real feelings of anxiety, fear, sadness, or hardship. So how do you recognize when positivity is becoming toxic? And how can you healthily regulate your own responses and effectively support those around you? Keep watching to find out. Ahoy, Peter here from Brighter Training, and welcome to our video on toxic positivity. Now, you can use the timestamps in the description below if you need to come back and review a specific section of the video. And of course, if you find these videos useful, please remember to hit like and subscribe or share your comments with us as well. So today we're going to have a look at what toxic positivity is. We're going to have a look at how it's a problem, what it looks like during the current global crisis, and what a healthy response to toxic positivity actually looks like. So what is toxic positivity? Well, it's the assumption either by yourself or someone else that despite a person's emotional pain or a difficult situation, that they should only have a positive mindset. So some examples you may have experienced include a family member who tells you off for expressing frustration instead of listening to why you're upset. It can be a comment from a friend to look on the bright side or practice gratitude. It could also maybe be a meme that someone posts about changing your mindset or choosing your attitude. And that person on social media who's always sharing how productive they are during lockdown and how amazing the situation's been for them and their family, and everyone should just focus on the positives. So let's have a look at the problem with toxic positivity. Now, emotions aren't inherently positive or negative. They're either appropriate or inappropriate to the circumstances. Now, for example, anger, usually associated with being a negative emotion, however, it can be a completely reasonable and appropriate response in certain circumstances. So what may be seen as a negative response or emotion could be, first of all, how we process an event in order to move to true acceptance, and secondly, it's how we identify improvements, potential problems, and possible solutions. It's important to let people experience emotions, whether they're motivating or not. It's actually quite destructive to force people to only experience or show a fixed range of approved responses. Now, the problem with toxic positivity is that emotions that are seen as negative are suppressed and denied, and as a result, perfectly healthy, necessary, and authentic human experience is denied. So someone's pain is invalidated. The pressure to be productive and appear okay invalidates the full range of genuine emotion that we experience, and people can feel like that they're failing or defective if they feel insecure or upset or distressed. Now, judging yourself for feeling pain, sadness, jealousy, which are all perfectly normal experiences and are usually quite transient emotions, leads to what we call secondary emotions, such as shame, and that's much more intense and a lot more destructive. So forcing positivity distracts us from the problem at hand, and it means that you don't create space for self-compassion, which is so vital to mental health, and it's not something that people really do enough of. So at its core, toxic positivity is an avoidance strategy, if you apply it to yourself, which is used to push away and invalidate any internal discomfort. But when you avoid your emotions, you're actually causing more harm. And if you encourage someone to be positive instead of respecting their need to feel and process an experience, then you can also be causing them additional stress. Now, there's many studies out there that show that the more you try not to think about something, the more you're going to obsess about it. And studies also show that suppressing feelings can cause additional psychological stress. So failing to properly process emotion and understand the core cause of the issue can lead to all sorts of difficulties that just compound the problem. things like insomnia, increased risk of substance abuse, acute stress responses and grief, or even PTSD. So now let's have a look at positivity during global events. Think of the COVID situation over the past year or more. There are almost 2.5 million deaths worldwide. There's lockdowns, there's isolation, job losses, travel restrictions, working from home, homeschooling. Now these are real hardships for some people, and sometimes it's a huge win for them just to get up out of bed in the morning. Yeah, look online and you will see so many examples from people telling you how to take advantage of the lockdown and other situations, start a new business, or look at all the people starting little side hustles. You can do a course, you can learn a language, you can consider it a family holiday, or use the time to declutter your house. Now, not everyone copes with stress by getting busy, and for many, these messages are really quite harmful, and it leads to an increased feeling of depression and anxiety. Now, I hear many people who say that sometimes they find entire days or even weeks passing by with little to no productivity. And you know what? That's absolutely okay. So toxic positivity invalidates people's experience and just adds judgment and stress to an already overwhelming situation. And just because you may not have experienced any hardships yourself doesn't mean that you're uniquely qualified to tell someone else how to feel or respond. So of course, positivity usually comes from a good place, but to be blunt, it can be pretty thoughtless and harmful. Someone who's lost their business, their livelihood, they can't see their family, or they're literally losing their loved ones, doesn't need to be told all about what a great opportunity COVID is. So let's explore a healthy response to toxic positivity. So it's not only okay to not be okay, actually it's essential. Human beings can't just choose the emotions that we want to have. It doesn't work that way. So feeling all of our emotions, painful or not, keeps us grounded in the present moment. And look at any change or grief model, you're going to see that negative reactions are perfectly normal and part of a healthy response. And with a global pandemic or significant life changes in general, it's a normal human emotion to be anxious. Anxiety and stress can actually be a useful survival response. So for example, it motivates us to wear a mask or maintain social distancing out of fear of getting ourselves or others sick. So anxiety is a very normal response to any abnormal situation. Now, at the moment, we're experiencing a shared trauma. Millions of people are in similar situations to us. So whether it's work, COVID, isolation, grief, even death, or more typical life changes with unemployment, redundancy, leaving school, or relationship breakup. So no one is alone in any of this. So it's important to remove the expectation and the goal of feeling positive. Instead, you have to accept whatever genuine feelings come up, sit with them, and let them just pass on their own. So now let's have a look at some ways of really dealing with this. So there's a few different methods that you can use when dealing with toxic positivity. So we'll explore a few things you can do to manage the situation better. So first of all, avoid ignoring or denying your emotions. So acknowledge how you feel all the emotions, good or bad, sit with them. Avoiding how you feel will only prolong the discomfort. So explore the cause and the fears, consider talking about them or writing them in a journal just to get them out of your head and put them into perspective. So at number 2, listen and validate how other people feel, even when it's different from how you feel. Everyone's entitled to their own feelings. Don't shame another person for their emotions. It's essential to acknowledge that others may not cope with things the same way you do. So sure, you can still give them some suggestions or direction, but just don't try and solve their problem for them. So at number 3, remember it's okay not to be okay. So life can be hard. Accept that we have good and bad times. Allow yourself time to process the emotions and give yourself permission to rest or do something imperfectly without any judgment. So next, remember that feelings are not mutually exclusive. So healthy positivity acknowledges authentic emotion and it rejects the either-or mindset. So in other words, you can be sad about losing your job during a pandemic and also still be hopeful about finding a new job in the future. And you can even feel good and bad about the same thing at the same time. Emotions are funny like that. So at number 5, be realistic. If you want to be productive, then take small steps. You don't need to jump into entirely new projects and change your life, since that introduces yet another change that you don't need to deal with. So find things that you enjoy, schedule a time for them, or try just different versions of things that you enjoy. So it still keeps things interesting, but without making it too different. So another good tip is recognize toxic positivity messages. So usually these messages are overly simple. Be grateful, focus on the positives. But what makes positivity toxic is when it dismisses other genuine emotions. So if the message is that positivity is the only or the best way to go, then that's a problem. And remember, you don't have to engage with toxic positivity. And finally, consider avoiding social media. So social media is a bit of an illusion. So people take about 30 photos of themselves just to get the right one to post. They'll usually only post the most positive and exciting aspect of their lives. So drinks, food, travel, parties, shopping. So you rarely see people post their flaws and their mistakes. Now this can make you feel like everyone else in the world is handling life better and that there's something wrong with you. And especially influencers who are particularly toxic to sell their products and services and their ideals. So just remember to be critical. Remember that social media is the life that people want to share, not necessarily the one they have 95% of the time. So in summary, you're not alone in feeling down, and it's okay to not be okay. So take some time out. Give yourself permission to be unproductive. Reach out for support if the feelings are prolonged or starting to have a harmful effect on your life. We'll pop some support line details in the description below. But in general, you don't need to be perfect. You're not alone, and healthy positivity means respecting, exploring, and processing all of your emotions and not attempting to force a positive response to everything. So stay positive or not, both are fine. But either way, thanks for watching, and please feel free to share your own experiences and thoughts in the comments section. And if you would like some workshops or training around change management and toxic positivity in the workplace, then reach out to us directly. Our contact details can be found in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and have a great, or a good, or a totally unproductive day.